You're listening to the Super League Pod, coming up on episode 120 of your favourite Rugby League podcast. We've got all your feedback and shout-outs. I take an early morning bus ride and get educated on former Man United players. We look back at the semi-finals and the £1 million game, as well as previewing this week's upcoming grand final. All that and more on your podcast, the Super League Pod. Okay, Super League Pod 120. Welcome along, everyone. Tom and Mark, leading you through the week's events in Rugby League. Mark, how's things going? How's your week been?
Yeah, it's been alright. I've not been working, but I've not been doing very much either, to be completely honest.
Like a good week, man. I'll take that.
Spent, a bit of time with Emma and stuff. And watched a lot of sport.
Good man.
Ryder Cup. NFL.
Yeah.
Rugby League, obviously.
Yeah.
Been a bit reinvigorated by the quality of or at least by the drama of the games.
Right.
That we've been able to watch.
It's been a blinding weekend.
Because we knock our sport so much, and there's issues certainly that have come out of these games and aftermaths of them. But I think it's been exciting. The action on the field, whether it be because of controversy or because of skill or everything that goes into it all, I think it's been quite reinvigorating after months of moaning from everyone. I've quite enjoyed the 4 televised matches for what they offered. Yeah. And the Ryder Cup obviously didn't go our way.
You didn't get a great one there, did you, really? But
didn't go our way, did it?
No, it was the first session they were 4-0 down after.
Yeah, but they bounced back.
They did, but that's a lot. Even being 4-0 down there, that's a lot to come back from, isn't it, I think? It
is. I think the part of the problem was there was too many inexperienced players in it, and the experienced players weren't performing to what we've seen them do before. So one group couldn't carry the other group fully. Yeah, and you ended up with just having basically Rory and Peters. Yeah,
my taxi driver on Friday night was a Scotsman who was absolutely raging that Lee Westwood was in the team, and I only brought it up because it just was on the radio as we were going to where we were going, and he was talking about this other Scottish golfer who I'd never heard of, who should have been in the Ryder Cup side, and he said it's the first time there's not been a Scotsman in the Ryder Cup team, and that doesn't bode well. I said it'd be ridiculous. What do you lot contribute? And then look, we lost.
Well, they invented the sport.
Apart from him, he was keen enough to point that out as well.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Fair. Making friends
everywhere I go. Yeah, exactly. Did you notice that there were no British point scorers on the final day of the Ryder Cup?
Were there not?
No, none of that. So that's Brexit for you, isn't it?
Well, to be honest, there weren't much point scorers of any sort.
No, true.
So, I think there's some people that were in that team who won't see another Ryder Cup. To be perfectly honest, people who maybe have once in a lifetime wins and stuff. Yeah. But anyway,
perhaps not. Yeah.
What else have you been up to over the following hour with
taxi drivers? Well, where I was going, I've had quite a busy. Normally, this is so nice for me because normally you have the exciting life with loads of stuff on, and I just go, steady away, but anything but steady away my week. Apart from the first 5 days since the podcast at work were steady away working days. Friday night, work had bought a couple of tables at Sportsman's Dinner over at the De Vere, the big hotel on the edge of town. And it was Gary Pallis. Heron's Reach, thank you, yeah. Well, there's no need to be too specific. There's not a lot of, Black Pudlians that listen to the podcast, is there? But it's a big swanky-ish hotel. As swanky as you get in Blackpool, anyway. And it was a Sportsman's Dinner with some ex-Man United players. So, met Dennis Irwin, Gary Pallister, and apparently Norman Whiteside as well. I'll put a picture up on the Twitter feed after this. Obviously, I'm not the biggest football fan in the world, but I'm not. I haven't lived in a cave, so I know who Dennis Irwin and Gary Pallister are just from being around life. Not as familiar with the work of Norman Whiteside, so I'd had this Sportsman's Dinner sold to me as there's some ex-United players there. We'll have a drink and it's all on the company dollar. So that's I didn't ask a lot more questions really because it was free food and free booze. And I go on and oh bloody hell, that's Gary Pallister and that's Dennis Irwin. And I said to the guy next to me, I said, do you think they mind if I go get a selfie? Because I'd seen them doing like the professional, you stand and you pay your 20 quid and they do it. And, oh no, you can do that, that's fine, that's not not going to be a problem for them. So I went to like the top table where they were, and there's a few people queuing up and getting autographs and stuff, and I got to the front, and I said to them both, I said, "Oh, do you mind if I get a quick selfie with you, lads?" So I took the selfie, I went back and showed it to me mate who was sat next to us from work, and I said, "Hey, look at that, Irwin and Pallister and me, who'd have thought it?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm Norman Whiteside." I said, "Who?" And then I got to spend 20 minutes learning about who Norman Whiteside was, which is, which was interesting.
And then you just had a recap of that now with me before recording.
Basically getting another telling off. So that was my Friday night, but the night didn't end there. So there was 2 tables of us, so 20 people from my office. So you start drinking at 7 o'clock, and by 11:30 we were in Walkabout in Blackpool, and then ended up trying up the new nightclub in Blackpool as well, Home HQ it's called. It's where Rumours used to be. It weren't much cop. But again, it was company dollar, and there was bottles of Grey Goose floating around and what have you. And then a few of us ended up going up to one of the girls I worked with and her girlfriend, and one of the lads I worked with and his partner. They were up for going out, and there was a few more of us, so we went up to Chaos and then to the Pink Flamingos up in the top of town.
The high wire place.
Chaos is not the high wire place, no. Although there was quite a lot of high wiring going on. Chaos and then Flamingos, which is the only place that's open really late. So it was about 6 o'clock in the morning when I got out of Flamingos, and there were no cabs about really. So I ended up walking back through Blackpool down to where Coral Island is, so about half a mile, getting a McDonald's breakfast from the McDonald's on the corner and catching the bus home, which is singularly one of the most rock and roll nights out I've ever had. Rather than having to get a cab, I was out so late I could get the bus.
Wow.
So that was my Friday night. I came home, went to bed, recovered for a few hours, watched the £1 Million game, which I'm sure we'll get to later, and then I was out in Lytham with a young lady friend on Saturday night, saw Touch the Pearl at the station, and a couple of cocktail bars and a few in the taps and what have you. Sunday, my world just imploded. Basically, after two nights of fairly heavy drinking, I was a shadow of my former self. This girl left about 9 o'clock, and I went back to bed until about 2. And then it was just ordering pizza and lying on the couch feeling woeful for myself. So I'm starting to perk up now.
That's a big insight into your life you've just given all our listeners.
It's been a big weekend, mate.
Some of those stories are normally pre-recording stories. I'm not sure how we've come along this way, but are you feeling all right now?
Yeah, no, I'm okay.
Bounce back.
But everyone at work was basically, we were just all comparing notes and stories and stuff at work today, and everyone's pretty much in the same boat. So it's been an eventful weekend. I've had a very good time. It's been good fun.
You and Norman.
Me and Norman Whiteside.
Good stuff.
One of United's youngest ever players.
Yeah.
And
was he the youngest ever goal scorer in an FA Cup final?
I'm not the authority on Norman Whiteside. You might think I am, mate, to be honest. I've no idea. It could well be. It could be one of the things. Who's been getting in touch with us this week then?
Loads of people, as always. We'll start with Lee Whitnall, at L Whitnall on Twitter. If you want to follow Lee, I would encourage it. He said, suggested a sloppy awards category. He said the player with the most hair the most like a 1930s fascist dictator. Oh, actually, there's only Danny Brough. Forget it.
Actually, there is another one. Well, there's a couple, but one's borderline. My borderline one is Liam Watts, but the one who was the St Helens winger that joined Lee halfway through the season, who's not really a winger?
Oh, yeah, Dawson. Matty Dawson.
Matty Dawson, there you go. So he has a right, because he's got dark hair as well.
He could be in the frame,
he looks proper like he's in charge of Smithler Youth. So there are a couple, but he was the other one that I came up with. Matty
Fair
Dawson.
enough. Well, it's not in the categories. The categories have been released, and we did our shortlist.
That's it.
There's the votes that are now open. Check out our Facebook.com/Super League Pod or our Twitter feeds, because
I cast my votes via the Google form myself on Sunday to try it out, and I can tell you that if you're listening, it works beautifully.
It's quick and easy.
Superb, absolutely.
Accessible on smartphones.
Doable
tablets.
with a hangover. So really good work.
Good stuff. Yeah, so that's up, and the voting's going well so far. Because I've been off work, I've kept tabs of what's going on. I think I'll lose tabs now of what's going on now back at work. But it's going well so far. But get on to that, everyone. We would appreciate everyone voting, really.
Yeah,
because, get involved.
You can have a say. We're going to be talking about some of the stuff that's going on tonight, obviously. It's about 8:20 on Monday night here. So obviously there's the Man of Steel Awards. Maybe not started quite straight away, but the awards night is tonight at Old Trafford. So we probably have... it won't be breaking news unless you're listening to us and I haven't followed it on Twitter, but we'll include that as part of the show at some point as well, won't we?
Yeah. Or, you know, the more important awards are the SLPies, because they're all of us voting for them.
Of course,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's have our say.
Yes.
There's the Dream Team as well available, so if you go on Facebook, there'll be links to both of those, quite obvious in our top few posts there. Wally Frogmore's got in touch. He said, I'd love to do a season review, but it's tough when I haven't seen all the games, which is why my game reviews dropped off. Yeah, moaning that by the time he gets highlights packages through on a Monday morning Oz time, we are already cut off the form for game reviews.
Okay.
However, he won't have to worry about that anymore because Saint season's over. But also, we don't expect people to go through every single match that a team's played. A more general overview of like your favourite games that you have seen, the best players, the worst players, or however you want to do it, really. So look out as well for posts about that. I've done a little picture mock-up advertisement type thing that just explains what to do. Email it to us, record it on your devices. We've only had the one so far, and that's for London Broncos, but Chris Mason.
Super League fans, get your finger out.
But yeah, basically everyone but two clubs have had the seasons finished now, so you can get working on them. We've got about 10 days, 2 weeks to get them in. Everyone always tells us it's their favourite episode of the year.
Right.
So that episode can't happen and be everyone's favourite episode of the year if people who tell us it's your favourite episode of the year don't record bits and send them in to us, basically.
Don't make us have to name check people over the next few weeks either, and not few weeks, over the next couple of episodes before we do it, and make us having to start guilt people into it. You know who you are, you know who you follow. Give us a shout, put something together, and we'll all enjoy it, because it's really important. So it means something to us, doesn't it? It's as much as a nice little, not even a pat on the back, but it's just nice to get your interactions in so that we can have this big end of season party with all our friends, the listeners.
And it's actually the hardest show to put together of the season, but it's the most rewarding because we hear everyone else's voices.
It's brilliant.
So that's what we want. We want them to start rolling in now that most club seasons are finished, please, guys.
Indeed. Right, Chris McEwen.
Yeah, he said, chatting about your wedding anniversary is appreciated, Mark, as mine is the 3rd of October, so you serve as a reminder I need to do something. So I hope that you've done something romantic for your wife today, for Mrs. McEwen.
If not, you've got about 3 3/4 hours left by my reckoning. So
maybe he's taking her to the Man of Steel Awards dinner.
That would be wouldn't that be a great present? Wouldn't you have been happy if Emma had done that for you? And in for a second then. Right, Alfie Garnett.
Yeah, he said SLP comedy gold moment. Where was Lily? Asked Mark. Tom's response: Cubs, now wiping coffee spit from my windscreen.
I don't even recall that. I had to listen back to it and find it. Sometimes I think when we're not concentrating, we come up with absolute moments of genius.
We're only funny when we don't know what we're saying.
I know. If we try too hard, that's when it all goes to cock, doesn't it?
Genuinely, every week these things come up, and I'm like, when did we say that? Cutthroat Jake got in touch. John says, I like your comments on the hubcap. I disagree that this affectionate nickname denigrates it, but it's good for the trophy to be lauded. So there you go. Maybe John thinks the hubcap's more of a sort of jokey term of endearment between us.
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, it is something that's cropped up in that sense because of its resemblance to it, but I do think there are people amongst us more widely that do kind of use it as a term to bring it down rather than just like friendly ribbit.
Sean, this is a subject at Bruiser664. This is a subject you touched on late in sort of in the news section last week. But he says Rugby League nightclub. It should be called Fifth and Last Orders. Obviously closing at 5 a.m. Would that do you? Is 5 a.m. late enough?
5 a.m.'s a bit early doors for a guy like me. I like to stay out as late as humanly possible. Well, you get the stories then, don't you? I'm never doing it again, mate. This is me done to, like, I was just say Christmas, but maybe the end of October when it's Lytham Beer Festival. Maybe that's when I'll roll it out again.
Rich Langley got in touch with an email. He sent us a couple of emails during the week, which were all entertaining and well received. And this one is the one that's getting the best coverage because it's really cool for him to share this with us. So thanks for that, Rich. He said, we were at a wedding on Friday night. That's him and his wife Claire, which was in the same hotel as the Salford squad, who were there the night before the £1 million game. The hotel has set up a big screen just outside the wedding reception for people to watch the Hull versus Wigan match, and the Salford lads were watching as well. They were pretty good-natured considering the game they were preparing for, and happy to chat and pose for photos. A couple of non-rugby fans commented how surprised they were that the players were so accessible and friendly. It